Two men walk onto the same lot to buy the same car. Derek buys it brand new. $40,000, that new car smell. 0 miles on the odometer. Sam waits and buys the exact same model 3 years used for $24,000. Both of them are certain they made the smart move. Derek thinks he bought reliability. Sam thinks he bought a bargain. And when you run the real lifetime cost, the answer flips twice, and where it lands is not the new one. And it's not the cheapest thing on the lot either. So let's run it. Let's keep this honest because the car debate is soaked in feelings. Some of you hear new car and think responsible adult who values reliability. Some of you hear it and think the single dumbest way to light money on fire. Both camps are half right, and both are quietly losing money because of it. So we're going to give Derek and Sam the same job, the same commute, the same 15 years, same everything. The only variable is when they bought the car and how long they keep it. No brand loyalty, no feelings. Just the one number that actually matters, which is the cost per year of driving. And I want you to actually picture yourself here, because you will be standing on this exact lot at some point, probably more than once in your life. So it's worth knowing which of these three men you're about to become. Start with Derek and his beautiful new $40,000 car. Here's what nobody feels when they sign the paperwork. The second Derek drives off the lot, that car is worth about $32,000. He just lost $8,000 in the time it took to pull into traffic. Not over years, in an afternoon. And it keeps bleeding. A new car loses roughly 20% of its value in the first year alone, and close to half of it by year 5. So 5 years in, Derek's $40,000 car is worth around $20,000. He didn't spend $40,000 on a car. He spent $20,000 on the car and another $20,000 on depreciation, which is just a polite word for value that quietly evaporated while he slept. That's the part the dealer never circles on the sticker. And this is the part that should stop you cold. That loss is happening whether you notice it or not, every year, on every new car, to everyone who ever drives one off a lot. Now, meet Sam. Sam let someone else be Derek. He bought the same car 3 years old for $24,000, which means the first owner already ate the steepest, ugliest part of that depreciation curve for him. The brutal early drop, the $8,000 drive-off, the worst of it, all absorbed by a stranger. Sam is driving the identical car. Same seats, same engine, same everything. And he paid $16,000 less for the privilege of simply waiting 36 months. And here's the thing about depreciation almost nobody understands. It slows down. A 3-year-old car falls in value far more gently than a brand new one. So Sam isn't just paying less. He's stepping onto the flatter, cheaper part of the curve, the part where your money stops evaporating so fast. So who's ahead? Run it 5 years out? Derek has watched $20,000 in value simply disappear. Sam bought in at 24, and 5 years later his car is worth maybe 14, so he lost $10,000 to Derek's 20. Same car, same driving, half the loss. And that $16,000 Sam never spent up front, if he invested even part of it, it's been quietly growing this entire time. 5 years in, it isn't close. The used buyer is crushing it. Put a real number on it. That $16,000 Sam kept, invested, and left alone at a reasonable long-term average quietly grows to north of $23,000 in those same 5 years. And to be clear, nothing in the market is guaranteed and some years are ugly. But Derek doesn't have that money working anywhere. It's parked in his driveway, still losing value every single day he owns it. So there's flip number 1, and it's the one everybody already suspected. New cars hemorrhage money, and the used buyer wins. But here's where most people take the lesson way too far. They hear used wins, and their brain jumps straight to, so buy the cheapest, oldest car you can possibly find. And that is exactly where the math flips a second time. Meet Wyatt. Wyatt looked at Derek and Sam and laughed, and bought a 12-year-old car with 140,000 miles on it for $6,000. Almost no depreciation left to lose. On paper, the smartest guy on the whole lot, for about 8 months. Because a car that old stops losing value and starts losing something worse. Reliability. The transmission that goes at 160,000 miles, the timing belt, the AC compressor that dies in July, the tow truck, the week without a car, and the rental that costs more than a payment would have. Wyatt is now spending $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year just keeping that $6,000 car alive, plus the days off work and the stress that never shows up on a spreadsheet, but absolutely shows up in your life. The very old car didn't save him money. It just moved the cost from depreciation, which is silent, over to repairs, which are loud and always happen at the worst possible time. So there's flip number two. Chase cheap too far, and the savings turn right back into an expense. The cheapest car to buy is almost never the cheapest car to own. So now we can say the thing the title promised. The real answer to new versus used was never new versus used. It comes down to two numbers almost nobody runs. The first is the depreciation curve. New cars lose the most the fastest, so you almost never want to be the person eating that first owner cliff. The second is how long you keep it, because here's the secret that makes the whole thing click into place. Depreciation is a one-time beating. The longer you stretch it across your years of ownership, the smaller it gets per year. Derek's $20,000 loss is a disaster over 5 years. Spread that same loss over 15 years of driving the car into the ground, and suddenly it's barely a factor at all. The person who buys new and flips it every 3 years pays that depreciation cliff over and over and over. The person who buys once and holds it forever only pays it a single time, which lands us in the only place the math actually points. The sweet spot is a lightly used car, 2 to 4 years old, bought after the worst depreciation is already gone, but long before the expensive repairs begin, and then kept for a decade or more. That's it. That's the entire cheat code. You skip the drive-off cliff that crushed Derek, and you skip the repair cliff that ambushed Wyatt, and you land right in the cheap, boring, reliable middle where the cost per year is as low as it will ever get. Not the newest, not the oldest. The one nobody brags about at the party. And notice what that actually means for you. You don't need a bigger budget to win this one. You just need to buy at the right point on the curve and then, crucially, stop trading. The discipline to keep a paid-off car for 10 boring years quietly beats almost every clever purchase you could ever make. And now zoom out, because this is where it turns into real money. This was never one car. It's a lifetime of cars. The person who buys a new $40,000 car every 4 years, financing each one, will spend a genuinely staggering amount over a driving life. Easily hundreds of thousands of dollars, most of it feeding that depreciation cliff again and again and again. The person who buys lightly used and drives each car 10 to 12 years spends a fraction of that. And if they take even part of the difference and invest it, the gap doesn't just add up over 40 years of driving. It compounds into a number that can quietly change the age at which they get to retire. The car in the driveway was never really the cost. The cost was the pattern, repeated for a lifetime. Put it in real terms. Buy a new car every 4 years for 40 years, financing each one, and you can easily pour $300,000 or more into vehicles and the depreciation that devours them. Buy lightly used and hold each one for a decade, and you might spend a third of that. Take the difference and invest it along the way, and you're no longer looking at a nicer car. You're looking at years of your life you bought back. And to be fair, because the honest answer has edges. Sometimes a new car genuinely makes sense. A rock-bottom 0% financing deal can tilt the math. A few models barely depreciate at all. And if a dead reliable car keeps you from ever missing a day of work, that reliability carries real value. Nothing here is a guarantee, and depreciation rates do vary by model and market. But the shape of that curve almost never changes, and the pattern holds far more often than any salesman on that lot would ever like you to know. So the next time you're standing on a lot, torn between the shiny new one and the tempting cheap old one, don't ask which is better. Ask two questions. How much value is this thing about to lose while I own it? And how long am I honestly going to keep it? Answer those two like an adult, and you'll almost always find yourself walking toward the boring 3-year-old in the middle, the one that quietly costs the least to actually own. So tell me in the comments, are you a buy new, buy lightly used, or drive it till the wheels fall off person? And how long do you really keep your cars? And if this changed the way that new car smell hits you, subscribe, because every single week we run the real math on the money decisions everyone else just makes on feelings.